Hey guys, today we're going to talk basing. So welcome back. I've got two things here. I've got a set of bases here, right? And I've got my most important resource, sand. So here's the thing with basing. You do not need a whole lot of crazy detail. You can. I mainly play fantasy, so this fits most. If you play sci-fi, you may want something else. But the way I've done this is I grabbed a bunch of sand, and what I did was I sifted it. And roughly these are all the things that couldn't make it through the sifter. And these are just the larger rocks and even sand that technically could fit in there, but it just kind of didn't for some reason. So this is all just basic, very soft sand. And what we do is I have a hot glue gun and a base. Now be careful, I've burnt myself doing this a ton of times. You can actually see I got super glue all over my hand too, because I'll show you kind of what happens. But right now I am basing some hill tribesmen, which is why I'm going to be basing this the specific way I do. Now you could use tweezers. I'm not going to. I'm just trying to show you this quickly. I put at least one big stone for these guys, and the rest I just put in the sand. And you know what? I actually will grab a thing. Give me 1 second. Scratch that, I can find one. So anyway, here we go. We now have the base. Sorry, my cat's right over here. Anyway, so the base here. Sorry, she's just like sitting over in the corner there. The base now, you can see the hot glue, and obviously you can do this with PVA glue. You can do this with whatever you want yourself. I personally use hot glue because it's the cheapest. I don't need to worry about brushes, I don't need to worry about brushing on PVA, and sorry, I'm petting my cat. I don't need to worry about brushing on PVA, and I don't need to worry about like second coats or anything. But here's the thing: this is not finished. This is obviously going to fall apart. Like if I rub my hand on it, it's gonna start coming apart. So the important part now is I let it cool, because I'm not sure if you need to, but I'm not going to risk mixing hot glue that is still hot with a chemical that, like with the super glue. So here's the next important part. Now, what you can do too. Actually, I'll show you that after. So first, I grab super glue. Now these are just from the dollar store. These are like no name brand. I get a box of 4 of these things for $1.50 or something. I just every now and then I just do a big. I buy like 20 at a time, and it's overall pretty cheap. But yeah, in the end, I end up with a bunch of these, and I fill up a little drawer. You can kind of see it off camera here. But now we're just going to put a bit of super glue on that. Now we're going to let that soak down. As you can see, I don't need to add anymore. Just slowly kind of went from the top, and now it's slowly leaking down. You can see it's really, now it's just slowly like forcing itself down. I could add more super glue to make this faster, but I will, just because I think that's kind of as far as it's going to go. Now don't squeeze too much. You don't want too much super glue. And now if you touch the top like I have, you can see that you get sand and super glue all over your hand. So just be careful there, but just to show you. So this is kind of how the base will look. And when you paint it up, I just paint this up as dirt with the rock. But what I'm doing is you grab a model, right? For instance, let's say this guy, right? I'll show you him in a second. You grab a model, you super glue them on, and so here's the thing: I've been using baking soda because it automatically cures with super glue. Problem is, it also does this; it leaves us cloudiness, which isn't a crazy problem. Actually, let me grab a brush. So you get this cloudiness. What that is super glue that was still uncured in there, and the baking soda attached to it. Now this I super glued a while back, so I can probably brush a bunch of it off. Let's see. Not really. In short, this is a very messy process. If you're like me, I just keep adding super glue and more baking soda till it roughly forms, so I lose detail on the boot, but in the end it doesn't really matter to me. But if you don't want to do that, be very careful. But just let the whole thing cure for a bit. Maybe do all your bases in one go, which I normally do, but I've been adding these as I went. And then do these guys. Another thing you can do is pinning. I have not pinned these bases, nor have I magnetized them yet. But for instance, say I wanted to pin. Now this is a bad example because Middle Earth strategy battle games models are very, very thin. It's like impossible to pin them in my experience. But you would drill like roughly in the base of the foot with the most contact and the longest reach, so you can get that wire in there. If you wanted to drill it, you'd bring it like somewhere like here, like roughly this deep kind of, with a very thin bit of the drill bit. Then you can just drill it wherever you want. And roughly what I'll do is I'll drill the boot, put the wire in, glue it in place, and then I'll just kind of poke a hole where I want it, or I'll just stab it hard enough, or just roughly get an idea. Like right here, I want the stone. Now, one thing to actually help, if you aren't pinning it, but you do want still a level of support, try and brace these guys. So for instance, I'll show you this. This guy's standing here, but I braced his foot against the stone here. Oh, sorry, I dropped him. This guy's a really tough one. I really wanted to pin these guys, but yeah, I braced his foot against this stone. And it just keeps going, you know. And you want to brace stuff like this archer here against the stone again, and actually with this, this is bracing with the foot and with the stone itself. But yeah, another thing, if you want cool bows and arrows, these are actually, you can't see it, but I did actually do a knot there. What I did was I took a bit of a sewing string, tied a knot on the one side, super glued it so it would stay there, pulled the string over and tied another knot on the side, clipped it, and then super glued it. And that's how I end up with strings like this. Now the problem is it does have hairs fraying out, so you'll have like spots like that. That's thicker. In the end, I don't really care. It looks fine in the end anyway. But just so you know, you can also do that. So pinning's an option, bracing against solid ground is an option. You can also just use plastic bits and melt them to it with plastic glue. But yeah, this is kind of how I've based my entire like massive army. By the way, these are the hill tribesmen as they will be going, or as they will be coming as I build them. And I'll show you actually another thing I wanted to show you. I'll set these guys aside while I talk. So I've been working a lot, and I've got another video coming up actually. But one thing you want is your models to be stable, like I mentioned with bracing. So I'm just setting, you can kind of see I'm setting a few models aside on the side here. All of these are models I braced in a way. I learned this from, I want to say, Paul Stanley. He's a great YouTuber. If you look him up, I can't quite remember any of his videos off by name right now, but if you look up, he has Bretonian giants and stuff like that, and you can just look him up and you'll find him. And he does a lot of cool stuff. But he mentioned points of contact and bracing. I'm saying bracing. I think he just used points of contact. But you'll see models, and whenever you drop a model, you got the worry that it's going to break. I actually took his bracing advice, and now you can see right there, of course it unfocuses, I melted it a bit. What you want to do is get as many points of contact with the model with their weapons. Ever since I've done this, I've found my models break so much less. For instance, so what I did was I used the plastic glue on his hand, attached it like normal, but then I rested it against his head, and once the hand had solidified a bit, I also melted a bit by the head. And it looks funky here. With spray paint it'll look fine, and with normal paint it'll look fine, but right now that's giving an extra layer of contact. So instead of just, for instance, let me pull out a random guy. These guys. This is a perfect example actually. This sword, and I'll actually explain this sword in a second, but this sword, there is no brace. If I drop this guy right on the sword, it will probably break. Not great. But with his torch, I was able to brace it. You can see it's braced here. His hand is attached, but it's braced against his head as well, just to give it a little bit of extra support. Now, the sword I unfortunately had no choice on. Fun fact, this kit does not come with left-handed options, but I don't like the idea of a guy charging with a torch and then a shield in the other hand. Like, is he gonna beat you with a torch? Excuse me. So what I did was I cut a sword hand off, and actually, let me find that archer. There's an archer in here that I actually messed up. This one's at him right here. So this idea came from 2 points: this model and this guy. First, I didn't want the shield on the one arm and the torch on the other, but on top of that, you'll notice this hand is not carrying an arrow. This is, oh, where'd he go? this is actually what the model is supposed to look like. This is the second one, because every one of these models you get a duplicate of in the basic kit. But you'll notice he's carrying an arrow resting against his bow. I broke the arrow hand, unfortunately. The arrow broke in half. So instead I took a sword hand, I cut the blade and the handle off, and I attached them to that arm over there with the archer. And I took the swords and melted it to this one. Now I don't have high hope. You see, I don't have high hope for the handle sticking. I didn't really melt it. The sword I melted yesterday, it seems to be sticking. But yeah, that's kind of what you want to do, is add as much bracing as you can. Basing can be really cheap if you want it to be. Literally garbage. Anything you can bring up will work. So, for instance, just to give you an example, right? Let's pull up some other models. This is a model I've had for a bit. I haven't really worked on him that much. All he is dirt and the basic Ogre Tyrant model. That's it. And you can paint these up however you want. They can actually change it a lot. For instance, this is a model. I made it. It's a old Tyranid model. I was using it for a cult of weird sea mutants, essentially like Cthulhu stuff. And what I did was, you'll notice there's stone all over, and I dry brush that with green. There's bits like this right here that are plastic, and you can see a skeleton hanging out in there too. And I actually melted the foot onto the skeleton, along with the hand onto the... This is actually a super glue cap that I painted to be like bone. And honestly, this was one of my first real kit bashing projects when I was first starting out, so I would change a lot with these guys, but I still like them. I just kind of have this guy on the side here. Same thing, you can always add random bits. So my Middle Eastern inspired models all have bases like this. I used all my random bits just to throw them in there. So they actually have random cool bits. Like this guy's got a bit of a flag. You'll notice actually these guys are unpainted on the head in some cases, and the hands and or gun. It's because originally these were bows and arrows, but I didn't really like that, so I ended up borrowing a bunch of spare rifles from my conquistadors. And I just haven't gotten around to repainting the bad parts now. But you got like a shield, and what I did was I had it so my Middle Easterners are Semijids, as they are called in lore. And they rule the deserts that essentially the oldest civilizations are from. So all of the random trash you find on their ground is related to people who have died and fallen in their land. And that they're the only ones that are able to really live there. But yeah, as I've gone, I've kind of adjusted these guys and changed them. But yeah, basing again, anything from random bits of just dirt and hot glue, nothing else. Let's see what else I got. You can even use different sizes. This is all larger sizes of rock. I never really got around to painting this guy because I don't really... He's from the ghouls. I use my ghouls as cave troglodytes, so he's kind of from when I get around to repainting my zombies. But yeah, you can do whatever you want. Actually, this is a good example right here. Basing as well. I used... This is a zip tie or whatever it is. It's these old storage things my old job had. They're ribbed and they're like a white plastic, and they normally hold cardboard boxes together when you ship a cardboard box to someone, like, because I dealt with like boxing things. So they would send us these pallets of boxes, and the boxes would come in like packets of 50, and the packets would be wrapped twice with this like white stuff, this white textured stuff that would like tie it together. I don't know what it's really called. It's from U-Line. I don't know if saying that name's gonna get me like struck or something. I don't know, but either way. I used a bit of a toothpick, a bit of that U-line stuff, a bit of a plastic card that had lines in it. I did not make those lines. I was in the plastic card. And I used a bit of what's called granny grading, or it's got like 1,000 names. Just look up granny grading, or it's like stitching stuff. But that's what I did, was I clipped it, and yeah. And you can see this is obviously a more sci-fi inspired model. This is a Skaven that I kit bashed to be a flamethrower. Skaven. But yeah, you can do literally whatever you want with basing. You can spend tons of money on cool plastic bits. You can use just spare bits. You can use dirt, obviously, hot glue, whatever you want, super glue. I use a bit of both. And just thought I'd give you a quick basing video. Maybe I'll go into more depth. But yeah, just a quick run through of what I meant, also just a bit more of bracing. You can see these guys also have their swords are melted to their heads as bracing. This guy had his axe to his chest. Let's see sword to the head again, torch to the head, and so on. That kind of thing. You want to brace your models, get them as much stability as you can. Basing, you can use whatever you want. I'd recommend hot glue as a base to pick everything up. And one thing too, hot glue is very quick cooling. So if you're willing to do what I do, like you can use white glue, of course, do things, take some time. If you're doing what I do though, where I'm painting big things, I just do hot glue, add the little bits that I need, and then dip it in the sand. Or you can do, what you can even do is do hot glue, dip it in the sand, hot glue again for any bits you want to add. But yeah, just thought I'd do a video on basing, kind of update you on current projects, and yeah, that's kind of it. Hope you enjoy that video. Have a good day. Please like and subscribe if it would help, if it wouldn't be a bother.